Manila, Philippines, the Department of Transportation should suspend the implementation of the Public Utility Vehicle (PUV) Modernization Program until the alleged corruption issues in the PUVMP are resolved, Senator Grace Poe said. As the chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Services, Poe said the Datra and Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board (LTFRB) should ensure that proper preparations are being made for the PUVMP. Erring officials must be held accountable for bungling a very critical program of the transport sector, the senator said. The Jeepney Phaseout explained the PUV modernization program and why Jeepney drivers and operators oppose it. By Inigo Ross's March 11, 2023. At a glance, the Jeepney Phaseout is a major overhaul of how PUV franchises are granted and routes are organized. The Jeepney Phaseout is just a small step in a larger plan called PUV modernization. It is a program that involves several phases, from phasing out old vehicles that are no longer roadworthy and emissions compliant, to scrutinizing and reorganizing routes, franchises, and roles of the vehicles involved, to introducing new systems and standards for vehicles that will serve the public. From the wide variety of public utility vehicles, it hopes to consolidate them into just 4 standardized classes. Drivers and operators must form cooperatives or corporations and register with the LTFRB to be granted a franchise. Each cooperative must have at least 15 units of PUVs. The government has even prepared a financing package, called 5678, 5% down payment, 6% interest rate, 7 years to pay, and a P80,000 subsidy per unit. Over the past weeks, Jeepney drivers, operators, and the government have been at odds over the planned Jeepney phase-out in favor of more modern public utility vehicles, PUVs. Originally conceived in 2017 and for implementation in 2020, the government initiative has been delayed numerous times due to multiple strikes from the transport sector, the COVID-19 pandemic, and several reviews from the government. Some critics think the problem is simply that the government is requiring Jeepney drivers to pony up for the new, more modern Jeepneys. However, it's not a simple matter of economics. It goes much deeper than that. The program is a major overhaul of how PUV franchises are granted and routes are organized. The Jeepney phase-out is just a small step in a larger plan called PUV modernization. To get a better understanding of how it's supposed to work, we detail all sides of the issues here. Why are Jeepneys being phased out? Jeepneys have been in operation in the Philippines for nearly 80 years now. Not surprisingly, these vehicles have become an institution and are practically synonymous with the country, serving as a cultural icon and symbol of ingenuity. However, these vehicles are based on a nearly 80-year-old design. Jeepneys were originally adapted from World War II Willys General Purpose vehicles, GPs, Jeeps, left by the American military during their occupation of the country. It is derived from a portmanteau of the words, Jeep, and Jeepney, vehicle that carries passengers, hence the name. After the war, with much of the country in shambles and ruin, enterprising Filipinos modified these vehicles to carry passengers, and serve as public transportation, charging a small fare for a specified route. The Jeepney has been in service in the country since the 1940s, and while many are no longer built from original Willys Jeeps, the design has endured, with their chassis, body and components adapted from different surplus truck parts. Its body panels are made from stainless steel, often embellished with decorations, murals, and the signature horses on the hood and visor and crown over the windshield. The only changes since the 40s have been lengthening the vehicle to accommodate more passengers and more complicated decorations. However, little else was done to make them more efficient, safer, or even more comfortable for passengers. In addition, these Jeepneys are run on individual franchises, one Jeepney, one franchise, that make them difficult to regulate and control. As part of the government's plan to provide better public transport, a new program was launched to design and mandate the replacements, called the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, PUV Modernization Program. The PUV Modernization Program is a government initiative designed to streamline and organize the country's public road transportation system. Launched in June 2017, The program seeks to provide safer, more efficient and more strictly regulated means of transport for the riding public. First of all, the PUVMP plans to organize the many modes of public transport. From the wide variety of public utility vehicles, it hopes to consolidate them into just 4 standardized classes. It specifies dimensional limits for PUVs with strict limits on the seating arrangement and capacity, as well as maximum mass. Also included in the dimensional limits are the vehicle's overall height, width and length, wheelbase and even front and rear overhead, cabin, seat and seat layout, step board, service door and emergency exit. There is also an age limit that states no part of the vehicle can be older than 15 years. In essence, these new PUVs have strict size and capacity limitations, and the most efficient form within those limitations is a minibus. These were formed so that PUVs will have a uniform size, prevent overloading, as well be equipped with the standard safety features expected of a public transport vehicle. Why the resistance? Naturally, this plan is massive in scale and very complicated in nature. First of all, it overhauls the very system with which drivers and operators have become accustomed to. Price. Current drivers and operators are already being urged to surrender their franchises as soon as possible. In return, the government will provide them financial assistance to acquire a new vehicle or even support them if they plan to seek a different profession. The PUVs themselves can be quite expensive, ranging from P1.6 million to as much as P3 million. Another issue is acquiring the physical plot of land for the coupe. Since this needs to be near or within their area of operations, the lot can get quite expensive if the co-op operates in a very developed area where land values are high. Perhaps the toughest resistance is from PUV drivers and operators in this occupation for several generations, and used to the one franchise per operator system. In many cases, the Jeepney has been passed down from father to son, serving not only as a means of livelihood but as a family heirloom as well. This is well and good for personal vehicles, but is problematic for a public transportation vehicle that has to meet safety and emissions standards, as well as an age limit of 15 years. Forming a co-op is also challenging for these drivers and operators. The LTFRB requires paperwork like incorporation papers and a business plan, of which many of them have little knowledge of how to create and plan. Like any corporation, this requires the selection of a board of directors, roster of members, shares, regular meetings, minutes of those meetings, and proof of accounts and funds. Thankfully, some PUV suppliers are already going the extra mile and assisting them with the paperwork in order to meet orders. It is along a bumpy road, and with the continued resistance against the Jeepney Phaseout this year, it appears there's still a long way to go. Nonetheless, the prospect of a more organized, efficient, and possibly even greener means of transport is already on the table. Are the government's requirements too much? Do you believe the resistance to the Jeepney Phaseout is justified? In J. Mike's opinion, the government is going way too far and way too fast. The Jeepney owners do not want to become co-ops or corporations. Did you like this video? Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.